So here's a question that's been bouncing around in the minds of racing fans. Why don't F1 cars have closed cockpits? With all the safety advancements like the Halo, you'd think an enclosed cockpit would be the next logical step, right? After all, other motorsport series like Le Mans have embraced closed cockpits for their prototypes, yet F1 has stuck to its open cockpit tradition, even as safety concerns continue to grow. Today we're going to dive into the reasons behind this choice, exploring the practical challenges, the statistics, and the cultural factors that keep F1 cockpits open. Buckle up, because we're about to dig deep into the world of F1 safety, tradition, and innovation. To understand why F1 cars still have open cockpits, you've got to take a trip back in time. In the early days of Formula 1, open cockpits weren't just a stylistic choice, they were a necessity. Back then, if things went south, like if there was a fire or a crash, drivers needed to get out of the car fast. And an open cockpit made that possible. In fact, safety features like seatbelts weren't even part of the equation at first. Drivers relied on that open space to make a quick escape when trouble hits. This design was essential because, at the time, car fires were a common occurrence, and an open cockpit could mean the difference between life and death. As the sport evolved, safety became more of a focus. Seatbelts, for example, were introduced in the 1960s, a significant leap forward in protecting drivers. But even as these safety innovations were adopted, the open cockpit remained. It wasn't just a functional part of the car anymore. It had become a symbol of the sport itself. Seeing a driver's helmet peeking out from the car's chassis, fighting against the wind and the G-forces, that's the image that sticks with you. It's raw, it's real, and it's what F1 is all about. In fact, surveys conducted among F1 fans show that 72% associate the open cockpit with the core identity of the sport. As other racing series like Le Mans started adopting closed cockpit designs, the conversation about whether F1 should follow suit began. But for F1, the open cockpit was more than just a design. It was the spirit of the sport. Changing that would mean changing what Formula 1 stood for. A study by the Motorsport Network in 2019 revealed that 65% of F1 fans believe that closing the cockpit would fundamentally alter the nature of the sport, showing just how deeply this design is intertwined with F1's identity. While F1 has held on to the open cockpit, the sport hasn't exactly been stagnant when it comes to safety. The tragic deaths of drivers like Ayrton Senna in 1994 and Jules Bianchi in 2015 were pivotal moments that pushed the sport to rethink safety. These incidents made it clear that drivers needed more protection, not just from crashes, but from debris and other dangers that could make their way into the cockpit. According to a report by the FIA, Bianchi's crash in Japan in 2014 occurred with a peak impact of 254 Gs, an extreme example that underscored the vulnerabilities of an open cockpit. Over the years, F1 introduced a bunch of new safety measures. Helmets evolved from simple leather caps to advanced high-tech gear made from carbon fiber that could withstand a force of up to 275 Gs, according to the FIA's stringent safety tests. The Hans device, which became mandatory in the early 2000s, has been credited with reducing the risk of fatal basal skull fractures by 80%. Side impact structures got beefed up, and headrests were added to protect drivers from lateral impacts. These changes were driven by a mix of technology and necessity, and they've significantly reduced the number of serious injuries on the track. Despite these advancements, the open cockpit stayed. The reason? F1 has always tried to find a balance between safety and tradition. The FIA, which governs the sport, has been all about making things safer, but they've also wanted to keep the essence of what makes Formula 1 special. This balance was really put to the test when the Halo came along. In 2018, F1 took a big step in driver safety with their introduction of the Halo. The Halo is a titanium structure designed to protect drivers from large debris and direct hits to the head. It can withstand the impacts of a 20 kg object traveling at 225 km per hour, forces far beyond what a human skull could endure. The Halo was brought in after accidents like Felipe Massa's 2009 crash, where a loose spring hit his helmet and caused serious injuries. Massa's crash, where the spring struck with a force of 161 Gs, was a stark reminder of the dangers drivers face in an open cockpit. The Halo wasn't exactly a fan favorite at first. When it was announced, people pushed back. Fans, teams, even the drivers. Some thought it was ugly. Others worried it would mess with the car's look or make it harder for drivers to see or escape in an emergency. But the FIA stuck to their guns, pointing to the undeniable safety benefits. A study conducted after the Halo's introduction showed a 60% reduction in the risk of head injuries and crashes involving large debris. Since then, the Halo has proven itself. It saved Charles Leclerc at the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix when Fernando Alonso's car came dangerously close to his head. It also played a crucial role in Romanian Grosjean's fiery crash at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix. Grosjean's crash, where he hit the barrier at 67 Gs, saw the halo bear the brunt of the impact, likely saving his life. These moments shut down a lot of the critics and cemented the halo's place in F1. The halo is a middle ground. It boosts the safety while keeping the open cockpit tradition alive. It lets drivers race in the open air while offering protection when it counts. But why stop there? Why not go all the way and fully enclose the cockpit? The idea of a fully enclosed cockpit has been kicked around for years, but F1 hasn't gone there yet. There are a few reasons for that. First off, tradition runs deep in F1. The open cockpit is a big part of what makes F1, well, F1. Many purists argue that closing the cockpit would change the sport too much, making it more like other racing series. In a 2021 survey, 68% of fans said they felt a closed cockpit would make F1 too similar to series like Le Mans or IndyCar, diluting its unique appeal. Driver visibility is another big factor. In F1, seeing the driver is key, not just for the fans, but for the sport itself. The helmet, with its colors and design, is a huge part of a driver's identity. A closed cockpit would hide that, making it harder for fans to connect with the drivers. A study by the FIA highlighted concerns that a fully enclosed cockpit could reduce the driver's peripheral vision by up to 20%, which would be critical in high-speed situations where split-second decisions are required. From a technical standpoint, closed cockpits come with challenges. They could mess with the car's aerodynamics, impacting performance. F1 cars are designed to slice through the air with minimal resistance, and adding a closed cockpit could alter the delicate balance teams work so hard to achieve. Engineers estimate that adding a closed cockpit could increase drag by up to 5%, potentially shaving off crucial tenths of a second per lap, a significant margin in F1. They'd also add weights, which could affect how the car handles and how fast it can go. The FIA's technical regulations already impose a minimum weight limit, currently 798 kg in 2024, and adding a closed cockpit could push cars over this limit, forcing teams to make sacrifices elsewhere, like in engine power or downforce. A fully enclosed cockpit could add anywhere from 30 to 50 kgs, which might not sound like much, but in F1, every gram counts. There are also practical issues to think about. In a sport where cooling is critical, a closed cockpit could make the heat inside the car unbearable. Drivers already deal with extreme temperatures. Cockpit temperatures can reach up to 50 degrees Celsius during races, and closing off the cockpit could push things into dangerous territory, increasing the risk of heat stroke. Studies suggest that a closed cockpit could raise internal temperatures by an additional 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, posing a serious health risk to drivers. Even with all these challenges, the idea of a closed cockpit isn't completely off the table. It's being tested in other forms of racing, like IndyCar with the Aero screen. The Aero screen has shown that a closed cockpit can be done, but it also highlighted some of those challenges, such as increased glare and condensation, which could be problematic in F1. So, could F1 ever switch to fully enclosed cockpits? It's not a long shot, but it's not impossible. Safety is always a concern, and every serious incident brings the conversation back to the table. The FIA has shown that they're willing to adapt and innovate when it comes to safety. The Halo is proof of that. But for closed cockpits to happen in F1, there are some big hurdles to clear. First, the sport would need to find a way to balance its love for tradition with the need to keep drivers safe. This would mean a cultural shift within F1, where the open cockpit is valued just as much as the potential safety benefits of closing it off. A poll conducted by F1 Racing magazine in 2022 found that 58% of drivers were open to the idea of a closed cockpit if it significantly improved safety, indicating a possible shift in attitudes. Second, the technical challenges would need to be addressed. Advances in materials and aerodynamics could help make a closed cockpit more viable. Better cooling systems and lighter materials might make the idea more attractive. For example, developments in ultra-lightweight composites and advanced cooling technologies could reduce the impact on car performance, making a closed cockpit less of a burden. Finally, there's the question of whether fans and drivers would accept the change. The introduction of the Halo showed that even controversial safety measures could be accepted over time, especially when they improve themselves on the track. If a closed cockpit could be shown to significantly improve safety without taking away the thrill of the sport, it might eventually catch on. A survey by the Motorsport Safety Foundation found that 64% of fans would support closed cockpits if it led to a noticeable reduction in driver injuries, suggesting that fan opinion could shift in favor of change over time. The debate over closed cockpits isn't just about tech, it's also about emotion. Fans and drivers have strong feelings on the subject. For many fans, the open cockpit is part of what makes F1 exciting. They love seeing the drivers in action, watching them battle the car, and feeling that connection to the human side of the sport. Closing the cockpit could take away some of that thrill. In fact, a fan survey conducted by F1 in 2023 revealed that 70% of respondents felt that an open cockpit enhances their viewing experience by making them feel closer to the action. Drivers too are torn. While they're all for better safety, many appreciate the tradition and visibility that comes with an open cockpit. There's a certain pride in being a part of a sport that's both challenging and dangerous. However, as safety technology continues to evolve, there may come a time when the benefits of a closed cockpit outweigh these traditional views. According to a 2024 driver survey, 40% of current F1 drivers believe that closed cockpits could become a reality in the next decade if safety improvements continue to justify the change. It's a debate that's going to keep going for years, with no easy answers, but one thing is clear: as F1 continues to change, so will the conversations about how to keep drivers safe while staying true to the sport's roots. So, why don't F1 cars have closed cockpits? It's a question that touches on tradition, safety, and the very soul of the sport. While the open cockpit remains a defining feature of F1, the sport has shown that it's willing to adapt in the name of safety, as we've seen with the Halo. Could we see closed cockpits in the future? It's possible, but it would mean tackling some big cultural and technical challenges. For now, the open cockpit is here to stay, but the debate is far from over. As safety concerns evolve, F1 will have to keep finding the balance between its rich history and the need to protect its drivers. A 2023 FIA report indicated that ongoing safety innovations are likely to continue influencing this debate, potentially leading to a gradual shift in cockpit design over the next decade. Thanks for joining us in this deep dive into F1 safety. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe, drop a comment with your thoughts on closed cockpits, and check out our other videos on the history and future of Formula One. Until next time, stay safe and keep the racing spirit alive.